Well, part of me sometimes wonder maybe we can just all go home now. I think we've heard the word of God already so far this morning. I'm so grateful to the other leaders and to Laura. Do you remember that book called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten? Well, it's Gratitude Sunday, as we know, and I'd like to share a few things I'm learning about gratitude in kindergarten. I work during the week in a general education class in kindergarten, and I work as a special services assistant, a one-on-one aide with an amazing 5-year-old girl whose name is Kitty. She has a condition which has the following characteristics. She's tall for her age. She's very uncoordinated in her body movement and speech, so words and sounds get mixed in order, not just going out, but also coming in. She's easily distracted, and while it's common for K's to still be developing some sense of spatial depth perception, Kitty has a great deal of motor movement with her arms and her legs, so physical boundaries are really hard for her to get. She's often in somebody's face or in her eyes. And this is really hard for her because she's very, very social. And so my job is to just be with her and to help her learn. And this is what I'm learning about gratitude in my work with Kitty. It's hard for her to sit still. She has a loud voice. Other kids aren't sure what to make of her, what to do with her. They often shy away from her. And so she's got many vulnerabilities, and I began to think of what is going on here? What do I need? She needs a lot of encouragement, and she often looks for attention. It's me, 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 me. And it's off-putting to some kids and some adults. Maybe she needs more attention because she feels invisible or outside of the mainstream, all the kids. Maybe she feels less than. And while there's no cure for her condition, we know she'll learn and grow. Following verbal instructions, multi-step tasks are really hard for her. For example, with numbers, if there's a graph that the page is too cluttered, she looks at it and she says, "Oh, I need to go to the office now. My tummy hurts. Please call my mommy." And she's nearly in tears. When she needs to draw handwriting in the books, it's very hard for her to make a letter. And even if I so much as suggest that she go to the outside of the box, I forget, she'll just shut down and she'll resist me and she'll go, you bad, go away, leave me alone. So I'm learning that there must be another way. She frowns at me, she points at me. On the playground, if I called to her, she wouldn't come or stop. And I'm thinking, my ego gets in there a little bit. And it's easy to get into a power struggle with her, and I lose if I do. We both lose. Everyone loses. So a couple weeks into this, I kind of hit a wall. And I felt a little anxious. What are people thinking of me? A little frustrated. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a long year. God, help me. Please, I pray. I began that ceaseless praying. And I did reach out to help from Kitty's team. And, it reminded me a little bit of this carrot top here, who, it comes up and it comes this way, but we bring it to church and it falls down. And we would want it to be up because it looks pretty that way, but it falls down. So how can we be with that carrot top when it falls down? So I had a dream. I had dreams. This one week when I stopped and I said, hello, help. I had a dream. The first one was that my mother-in-law, and I was sitting there with my mother-in-law, and I said to her, I wish I'd gotten to know you sooner. And then followed on the heels of that dream was another dream. And I was coming into by our front door, and I could see this animal off in the distance, and it was coming closer and closer to me. And it was coming out of the dark, out of the shadows, into the light by the front door. And I was, flipping through my mind, what is it? Yeah, we live out in the woods. Is it a dog? Is it a coyote? Is it a fox? Is it what do you call it, those, raccoon? And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then it occurred to me, It was a wild boar. And so it was scared. I had startled it, and it had startled me. And so I stood there, and I just said, it's okay. It's okay. And I just reached my hand out to it, and then I woke up. And so I was curious, why a wild boar? I'm always fascinated by dreams. And it turns out that wild boars represent our vulnerabilities and truth. And so I was just curious. I kept praying about this. And little by little, it wasn't me, but little by little, I started trying new things in the classroom. I learned to take not the whole piece of paper, but to make a little piece of paper and have one task at a time. But the biggest thing that I learned was when Kitty would give the slightest response of being scared or of being overwhelmed, I would stop, because she would look into my eyes every single second of her doing something. She'd do something and she'd look up in my eyes. She'd do something, look up in my eyes. And if I gave the slightest hesitation of, she would resist and she would start to act out. So I began to think, what she really, really needs is encouragement. She needs smiles. So I began to smile at her and encourage her. Everything turned out to be just great. Every effort that she made, I praised her for. And it wasn't a praising, an empty praise. I began to get a sense of thinking of Brene Brown with vulnerabilities. When are they a gift? And to slow down, just to slow down. We have, in our area, it's such a high pressure area for achievement. And I began to think, well, maybe that's not what I need to do with her. Maybe I just need to slow down and be with Kitty. Just be one movement with her, not one step ahead of her, but be right at her side, to meet fully where Kitty is in the moment and embrace her and trust that, whatever she needs to learn, she's going to learn, but she's certainly not going to learn it if she's resisting me. So I began to just be accepting and allowing and embracing of it all. And there wasn't this tightrope of there's this one way to get through kindergarten of judging and assessing and compartmentalizing, but to allow a connection with her with love. I began to think of the great commandment of God loving us first. I thought of AA principles that I'm a part of. Let us love you until you can love yourself. In fact, I began to think maybe I ought to just make the beam so wide that neither of us can fall off of it. Just be grateful for it all. Practice daily breathing, relax, keeping my palms open, welcoming and allowing it all. And I noticed that as I did that, my body began to soften. My words began to soften. My tone of my voice began to soften. I was happier. She was more joyful. It wasn't about completing the assignment or getting it right, or even reading A-level books. I began to take my cues from her. When we first started, she, it was like you're supposed to read this level A book. And still to this day, we have trouble because it's hard enough for her to even look at the words, let alone read them. To look at the words, to point to the words, that's enough for her to do. And so I'm beginning to say, okay, she's leading me here somewhere. And it's not about, am I doing it right? Am I doing a good job? Am I good enough? And I remember the one day, well, even on the playground when she doesn't hear me. And I'll go up to her and I'll say, you know what? We can keep working on this. It's okay. We'll just keep working on this. One day she came in wearing a puffy new pink ballerina skirt. And oh my, she was just so pleased. And she danced and danced and danced around all day. And, forget doing anything, quote, academic. And I thought to myself, this is my thought, I thought, why would her parents send her to her school in such a distractible set of clothes? Can't they see that she's just twirling around? And the teacher said to me, she said, if I was wearing that skirt, all I'd want to do is dance too. And so, there's just so many lessons. She has a smile on her face almost all the time, except when, things like math come along and it's difficult. But I saw her dad the other day, and it was so encouraging because he said, this is in La Miranda, and he said, I don't care if she doesn't go to Stanford. I don't care if she doesn't go to Cal. She can go to CSU, she can go anywhere. I just want her to be happy. And I thought, wow, Dad, that is such a gift because he gets her. And the more I get her, the more I get myself because she's just a reflection of me. And I feel the presence of grace with her. And all I can say is thank you. I wondered, what would it be like if we were to be grateful in absolutely everything? Every day she comes in, it's a new day. I never know. But I'm beginning to open up to the sense of, wow, just like Laura was with a spyglass. What if I'm just happy and grateful with her in this moment, in this day, moment to moment? And it's not a, forced woo-woo kind of gratitude with any kind of expectation. There is no expectation. It's just showing up with love and connection with her. And it's a decision. It's not a feeling that I have about being grateful. It's a decision that I make to show up and express this love of God in our midst. Why not be grateful for it all? Why not throw out the welcome mat without judgment to kids in kindergarten, to ourselves? Come in sadness, come in grief, make yourself at home, gripes, anger, frustration. Come on in and pull up a chair. Consider yourself most honored guests. You're a part of me and you have so much to teach me. You are welcome here, and the feast of life includes it all. We can appreciate it all. For years, I tried to hide my own vulnerability and insecurity with alcohol. Of course, there are many ways to numb ourselves with other things. We've heard them all. Shopping, food, to name a few, as well as me trying to judge and control other people to make myself feel better, look good. But, in reality, I've learned that it just closes my heart down. Because if I can't be open, then I can't be open, and my heart closes down. Not just to myself, but to other people and to God, God's love. It's hard to be grateful in a situation when you're feeling fearful and you're living in your head. So I'm learning this in kindergarten. I'm learning to stop, to allow, to go within, and day by day pray ceaselessly as I am moment to moment sitting with Kitty. Even when there's struggles, to let even struggles be a friend and an ally, into moving into my heart. Even resistance is a call to give up a fixed notion of what life is supposed to be like, or this particular experience is supposed to end up being. But I need to slow down, and I need to ask, why am I here? In Kitty's case, I needed to get out of needing to be in control to that of a more multidimensional heart, mind, soul, that we're both remembered in God's love, that we're both part of that truth really does flower within us when we are open. What if stuckness or problems are just an illusion of our mind? What if I could accept and surrender to struggle instead of totally exhausting myself trying to resist it before I surrender and ask for help? Maybe struggles can be a catalyst into more receiving, more love, more blessings, and connection. We know that here in this church. We've had many of us, we've had experiences, I have, of feeling resistance and struggles and being held and being carried forward and being able to relax in the midst of it. If we're transparent, if we're open to seeing and being seen, giving and receiving, embracing what's happening within us, then gratitude is a natural response. It just happens. Like Laura was saying, we can cultivate a curiosity and an appreciation for the experience of life, whatever it is. And the divine doesn't ask for our thanks. We're born with breath, we're born with life force, we walk amidst the beauty of the planet. We experience a wide range of energy, and we're the beneficiaries of grace. And while thank you isn't required, it does take opening our hearts to receive God's grace. And that's an expression of appreciation, opening our hearts up. There's mystery. We plant seeds. We don't know how the growth is going to continue. But in the intangible mystery of being open to embracing what's unfolding, trusting how and why and what happens, we can slow down. We can be willing to be still and silent and open and receive, to really take it in. And an unexpected sweetness, a childlike kindergarten sense, a beautiful sense of joy and curiosity and wonder takes root. I invite you to be with me now for a moment, just as you're sitting there, to take a couple of deep breaths. Open your palms as you're able. And as we did earlier, just take a moment, look around the sanctuary. Look at those around you, before you. I invite you to appreciate what's before you with an open-hearted resonance with that which you're observing. When we take the time to actually be with someone or something, we end up resonating with it. We end up creating that one breath that we heard of earlier. But when we whiz by in our minds, with our busy minds chattering, it's hard to transform our relationships from separation and invisibility to connection and being seen. Rabbi Kushner talks about taking what we appreciate, what we take for granted, and appreciating, even like roads. Appreciating empowers us and leads us to a depth of connection. It's not magic, but it does take our commitment, it does take our focus. And I loved how Laura was saying about keep looking, because it is an ongoing daily. Some of the studies say, well, you do it for 21 days and that's all you need to make it a habit. But, do anything for 21 days and you'll make it a habit. But I really think that it's a way of living. It's a way of living in appreciation and gratitude, to make yourself be more connected, deeper to yourself and to others. It's our natural state, gratitude is, and it starts and ends with us. Embody who you are. That's what Kitty does. She's who she is, fully who she is. And this is not the buying into the cultural conditioning of, well, this is what I need to be like. I mean, like I was trying to do with her. When you're a good kindergarten, you sit still and you keep your hands in your lap, and she's kind of like all over the place. And, that's who she is. But the more I can get outside myself of there being one way, a cultural conditioned way of being in or out, this will make you happy, says the ads for this car will make you happy, this drink will make you happy. You know what? We already have that inside of us. And when we do open that beam and make it so wide, we'll always belong, because we always do in God's love. God's love is fully inclusive, all living. So Mary Oliver wrote in a poem, "Every day I walk out into the world to be dazzled and then to be reflective. It suffices, it is all comfort, along with human love, dog love, water love, little serpent love, sunburst love, or love for that smallest flower of birds flying among the scarlet letters." Gratitude works when you're grateful for something real. And I wonder what fills your hearts. But Mary Oliver, every day, she says, every day, not just 21 days, not just Sundays, not the good days, every day, to be dazzled and then reflective, to be dazzled by life. And then to be reflective. And I thought, reflective, I think she meant going in, but for me, being dazzled means dazzling out too, just like Kitty does. She dazzles. So I invite you, as you go out this week, to be willing to choose to be grateful in each moment, each experience, and each encounter. Let's start with just today. To risk being open-hearted. It is a risk. It's being vulnerable, appreciative of God's presence in our lives. David Steindl-Rast, who's written extensively about gratitude, suggests that we try observing our life as a piece of art, of wondrous art. Open your heart with curiosity and wonder. Connect, be open to what is true, what is real within you and outside of you. See with your eyes, touch, listen, feel, breathe, relax, appreciate. Every nuance, every brushstroke, every color, marvel at all the details, even if you don't understand them. The unusual, the comfortable, the sorrowful, along with the elegant and funny, the sweet and kind. Appreciate, and we are opened to the miracle and blessings as gratitude becomes the backbeat of each breath every day, no matter what. Think back upon your day. What can we learn from our experiences? And especially our response to what happened. Our response. I learn a lot from that. And here's an opportunity for yet more gratitude. Maybe my responses aren't always so kind, but I can embrace those. I can pray with those. I can say thank you and embrace, and the next day I can try again. Meeting the difficulties and the times of overwhelm with spaciousness and appreciation, even if I don't understand, with a softness, a nurturing, and an opening. Be a reflective beam of God's love, so filled with gratitude that it spills over into blessings. Bless those near you. Bless those in your neighborhood, your city, your state, your country. Radiate and reflect this blessing in a circle that widens and widens until indeed it does surround every person, every plant, everything. And understand that you are the center of this blessing, this grace. You are the center. You are in God's love. You are that beam of God's love. This blessing is you. This blessing is God's love in you. You are gratitude itself. Amen.